When you speak of the Baltimore Colts, you speak of tradition, of promises fulfilled. When you speak of the Colt, you speak of the late 50s and the sandlot quarterback who rapidly shoved his team through its adolescence into manhood. When you speak of the Colt, you speak of the 60s, of the bitter battles with the Browns, Packers, and Rams, of the men who became a part of this age. Spanning 3 decades, the Baltimore Colts' legacy to the game has been consistency. While other dynasties have seen feast and famine, the Colts have, with rare exception, remained contenders. Year in and year out, they have challenged and convinced. Some names have changed, some faces replaced. There have been many architects, yet the structure remains strong. The 70s has seen Don McCafferty, designer of Baltimore's destiny. In 1970, the then rookie coach led his team to Miami, where a rookie's foot ended the season successfully. This year, the Colts season ended in Miami again, where neither coach nor kicker could alter the result. This year, there was no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. This year, the Colts played hostages to fate. But a single day, a single game could not erase an entire season. The Colts won 11 games in 1971, evidence again of their consistency. For Baltimore, it was a year in which the tradition continued. The Colts opened the 71 season without their familiar pair of high tops over center. John Unitas had ruptured his Achilles tendon in the summer, and Unitas's 16th year began on the bench. Earl Moral inherited a not unfamiliar role for him, but it was another figure 13 years Moral's junior who would loom larger than life in the Colts' first game. Number 36, Norm Boulash, burst into his second season, setting a club rushing record. Gaining 198 yards, Boulash took the New York Jets on a futile chase to the end zone, and the Colts won 22-0. Game 2 saw the Browns come to Baltimore for the first time since 1968. In a rivalry as bitter as the weather, Cleveland rained on the Colts 14-13 on a dreary day at Memorial Stadium. In Foxborough, the skies remained ominous for a time, then cleared before the largest home crowd ever to see New England play. Jim O'Brien's 3 field goals and the running of number 48, Don Nottingham, were the difference, as the Sunshine Patriots were eclipsed 23-3. In Buffalo, Nottingham turned blocker, and the offense hatched another rookie setback, number 23, Don McCauley. But the lopsided victory over the Bills was mainly the result of a defense that drubbed their quarterback 9 times, held their runners to 4 yards, and shuffled Buffalo off to a 43-0 defeat. The Colts' second shutout in 4 games. In New York, Baltimore spotted Fran Tarkenton a 7-0 lead, then mightily slew the Giants 31-7. With Norm Boulash carving bold gashes in the Giants' defense for over 100 yards, the Colts were in first place in the AFC East, and Boulash the #1 rusher in the conference. Legs were the key to the Colts' offense thus far. The running of Boulash and Nottingham have been impressive, and the 10 legs in front of them deserve much of the credit. All season, center Bill Curry, guards John Williams and Glenn Ressler, tackles Bob Vogel and Dan Sullivan were a tireless pit crew, ace mechanics for the roar of the engines behind them. If the mechanics often go unnoticed, the drivers never do. In '71, the Colts showed a full house backfield with Norm Boulash, their ace of trump, and 3 other face cards to match. They had a jack of hearts in Don McCauley, and a pair of kings in Tom Matty and Don Nottingham. 4 men who brought the Colts home safely on Sundays. Don McCauley, the Colts' #1 draft with a long future. Tom Matty, the 32-year-old complete back, whose past is his legacy. Norm Boulash, the handsome Texan who shuffled in and out of the backfield, missing much of the year, but who still gained 750 yards. Don Nottingham, the last pick, the human bowling ball, too small to play. But Unitas put 3 fingers in his midsection, and Nottingham came up strike. Number 23, McCauley. Number 41, Matty. Number 48, Nottingham. Number 36, Boulash. 4 runners as diverse physically as you can get, yet connected by a common desire and an unyielding drive for the goal. 4 of a kind. In their 6th game on a Monday night in Minnesota, however, the Colts learned what they had already known, that man does not live by bread alone. Boulash's running would not be enough to jail the Purple Gang, and neither Moral nor Unitas could save them through the air. The Colts would have to improve their passing against teams with strong defenses. So against Pittsburgh, Unitas watched Moral do just that in the Colts' most prolific offensive display of the season. Moral sliced the Baltimore Fog for 280 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the Colts won easily in Game 7. The bright lights of national television lit the field for the Colts' 8th game against the leaders of the NFC West, the Rams. Los Angeles took a 10-7 lead into the second half. A textbook fake pitch and handoff to Tom Matty, the Colts' only score. Defense has been a way of life for both these teams, and it was defense that dominated play for most of the game. It was defense, too, that made the play that broke the game open. With the score tied, Larry Smith fumbled the ball into Ted Hedrick's hands, and the Colts took the lead in the 4th quarter. Mike Curtis had clubbed the ball loose for Hendricks, but Tom Matty hammered home victory for the Colts. Throughout the night, Matty had twisted and pulled yards from the Ram defense. and he iced the victory with a 23-yard scamper to give him nearly 100 for the game. It was a must-win for Baltimore against a team that has always given them trouble. The next week at Shea Stadium, Tom Matte ran on to move the Colts 7 points ahead of the Jets. The Jets scored late in the game and needed only the extra point to tie. The Colts blocked it and stunned the Shea crowd by minutes later blocking the potential winning field goal, unveiling yet another facet of Baltimore balance, the special teams. And then it rained in Miami. It was Unitas' first start of the year, but the confrontation between number 19 and number 12 became a confrontation of defense, as neither team could score more than 2 touchdowns. Unitas had looked good until he was injured in the third quarter. What beat the Colts was their attempt and failure to bomb the Dolphins' deep zone. The difference on the scoreboard was provided by Garo Yepremian, and the Colts suffered their 3rd defeat in 10 games. Even in defeat against the Dolphins, John Unitas had learned. In fact, for the past few years, Unitas has undergone a subtle yet perceptible change. For number 19 is no longer the riverboat gambler with the rifle arm. He can still fill an inside straight when he has to, but the Unitas of the 70s has adapted to new personnel and an aging arm. Against Miami, hints of the new Unitas plan were seen, a plan based on the theory that the surest way to the end zone is not necessarily the quickest. With deception as his ally, Unitas turned from gambler to Wall Street broker, peppering short passes to his receivers. To the sprinter, number 33, Eddie Hinton, a post-pattern perfectionist. To the stylist, number 27, Ray Perkins. To the bull, number 88, John Mackey. And to Tom Mitchell, number 84, who replaced Mackey as the Colts' regular tight end. This then was the Colts' restyled offense, built around its versatile runners and a unique 38-year-old quarterback. And it was against the Oakland Raiders in Game 11 that Unitas and his offense would reach near perfection. The game was really over after 30 minutes. Controlling the ball by picking his way downfield on passes to Tom Mitchell, Unitas, Bulash, and Matte built an insurmountable 20-0 lead at the half, with over 200 yards of offense. In fact, the entire game was one of the most impressive in the Colts' history. They thoroughly devoured the highly touted Raiders, reducing their prolific passing attack to jello with 6 interceptions. It was a long day for Oakland. Both teams needed it to remain in playoff contention. The Colts had shown theirs to be the hungrier team. For years, the fans of Baltimore have seen their team consistently successful, winning not so much with flair as with highly organized efficiency. Game 12 against Buffalo became win number 9 as the Colts registered their 2nd shutout of the Bills and the 3rd of the year, 24-0. It was a particularly well-executed game for the Colts, as is any shutout, but nothing like what was to follow a week later. Don McCafferty came to Memorial Stadium on a cold, crisp Saturday afternoon for a rematch with the Dolphins. It was a game to be played both for first place and for pride, a rivalry that was becoming historic in only 2 years. The Dolphins had won 2 of the 3 games played, but on this December day, John Unitas and the Colts presented their former coach with the perfect game. The perfect offense. 2 successive first-half drives, each taking nearly 10 minutes, each culminating in a Tom Matte touchdown, each demonstrating a shrewd plan and perfect execution of same by coach, quarterback, and team. The perfect defense, one that was rarely on the field in the first half and therefore fresh in the stretch. Mike Curtis stopped the run with 9 solo tackles. Paul Warfield couldn't bust the zone, and what little drama was left was ended by 2 fourth-quarter interceptions. But in the warm glow of victory, the Colts were chilled by the loss of Boulash from here on. Boulash's absence may have cost the Colts both their 14th game and the AFC title. In any event, the Colts would have a postseason for the 5th time in 8 years. That the Colts were in the playoffs was a tribute to the Magnificent 11. From 30-year-old Jerry Logan to 21-year-old Rex Kern, perhaps the secondary best symbolized this defense, for it was a defense that always saw more than one man around the ball. It was 11 men playing not so much as front 4 linebackers and secondary, but rather as a well-coordinated defense with each area of the field superbly patrolled. The middle area was protected by the 2 tackles and middle linebacker. Billy Newsome, number 81. Fred Miller, number 76. Mike Curtis, number 32. Miller, Newsome, and Curtis were instrumental in establishing the Colts as the hardest team to run on in the NFL. Patrolling the right flank was Ray May, 56, backing up number 85 and Roy Hilton. Hilton's hustle and May's blitzing helped produce a conference-high 28 interceptions. The leader of the burglary brigade was left corner Charlie Stukes with 8. Safety Jerry Logan had 5. Rick Volt, number 21, picked off 4 roaming center field and was a combined conference all-pro pick at free safety. Volt was one of 3 combined all-pros on the Colts defense. Ted Hendricks was another. In only his 3rd year, Hendricks, number 83, is an established star and has added a new dimension to linebacker. At 6'7", he is almost impossible to throw over, and if Volt's hands are those of a center fielder, Hendricks are those of the basketball forward, grabbing passes and rebounds with effortless ease. They call him the Mad Stork. The octopus would be more apropos. Hendricks may have the longest and strongest arms in the game. And if you escape Mr. Clutch, you may have to deal with Mr. Crunch. Bubba Smith is an imposing figure, an intense, brooding man who thrives on the game and its demands. He's an all-pro who saves it all for when he is called, and when he is called, he delivers. Bubba Smith, Rick Volk, Ted Hendricks, the Colts defense, #1 in all of football. Many strengths, no weaknesses. The Magnificent 11. As the Colts prepared for the playoffs, they reflected on their season. They had won with a 37-year-old journeyman and a 38-year-old legend. They had won with careful preparation and constant execution. They had won with their feet, their heads, and their bodies. They had won by running, blocking, passing, catching, kicking, and tackling. And they had won with Baltimore tradition at their side in every game. Thus, when the Colts came to Cleveland for the division playoffs, they had a score to settle with tradition. They had not beaten the Browns since the 1968 NFL Championship. And with Norm Boulash just a spectator, their task was made doubly difficult. But the Colts were used to pressure. They had lived with it and have lived up to it. And as they had done 2 weeks earlier against Miami, Baltimore played the perfect game. Again, the quick strikes from Unitas to his receivers. Again, superb blocking, this time for Don Nottingham, who scored 2 first-half touchdowns and ran for 90 yards. As the Colts offense again controlled the ball, and with it, the Browns' destiny. Defensively, the Colts cut off Cleveland's lifeline. Ahead by 14, they forced Nelson to pass often and made a furious attack on his attempt to do so. Rick Volk's second theft ended Cleveland's agony, the final act in the 20-3 victory. Cleveland would be the scene of the Colts' final victory of 1971. Their ultimate promise would not be delivered in their first game of 72. But the Colts will be back in Miami next year, back with a team young in years, ageless in desire. Back with a team ready to carry on a tradition that in 71 produced 11 victories and a #1 defense. Back with a team whose legacy is their past and their future.